All right, welcome to another mini lecture that we're going to do. This one's also going to be about food, but it's not going to be about milk. It will be about vitamin deficiency from white rice. So we're going to move from milk to rice, and we're going to talk about this enzyme. Remember the pub-brawl enzyme, because of the lipoate that's moving between the E1, E2, and E3 subunits. And this is pyruvate dehydrogenase. Actually, if I just showed you something that looks like this, you could also say, well, maybe it's alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase, because it would look the same as this. So there's a lot of this movement going on inside your cells. But this is pyruvate, because realize that this depends on TPP. And you can't make TPP without thiamine. It's part of the reason why the T is in thiamine, the T is in TPP. And you can't really have pyruvate dehydrogenase working well without TPP. And remember that you can't really make it yourself. It's a very prevalent vitamin, but it's a vitamin. In fact, you can have a thiamine deficiency disease. One of them is called Beri Beri, because it resulted in the colonial era when the people were in a new environment and they were imposing European diets and dietary practices onto another part of the world's dietary practices. This had biochemical consequences in that the European patterns resulted in a thiamine deficiency. Now, rice is, the white part of rice doesn't have much in it. Doesn't have many vitamins. You're used to the brown part of rice having the vitamins, right? One of the vitamins it has is thiamine, and it's in its hull. If the rice is brown, it gets enough thiamine that it still has a good amount of the vitamin in it. If you polish the white rice, you don't get enough thiamine, and you develop Beri Beri if you're not getting other kinds of diet. So living on polished white rice alone causes this. And the polished white rice was imposed by the colonists when they were organizing things and saying what people should eat and how people should make food. A similar way, you can get calories, you can get carbon, and you can oxidize it, right? But you can sometimes have vitamin deficiencies if you get your calories from one place, but it doesn't have the vitamin diversity that it needs. So just like living off of white rice is bad, living off of just ethanol, white vodka, I suppose, that will give you energy, right? But it won't give you the thiamine that you need. You'll have other vitamins deficient as well. But usually there's so much thiamine that it's kind of hard. You have to kind of really have an unbalanced diet to not have enough thiamine. But if you do not have enough thiamine, you're in trouble, because pyruvate dehydrogenase is very important. Neurons need the energy most, and so Beri Beri and the ethanol-based form of it is actually shows up neurologically, because what's the tissue that uses glucose the most, therefore uses pyruvate dehydrogenase the most? It's the brain. Muscles will also be weak as a result, but the real problems are from neurological deficiencies. One of the ways you can tell if you have a TPP deficiency, if you have a step missing, then the flow will work out and it will stop at that step. It's like you're pouring water in, but you're pouring it onto a manhole that's closed. Okay? So if you don't have TPP, you're pouring down from glucose to pyruvate, but then that pyruvate can't go anywhere and it sort of spreads out. So that's the idea. It will spread out through your blood. If you detect a lot of pyruvate, your first thought as a doctor should be, oh, the main enzyme that uses pyruvate might have a problem, because we might have a plug in metabolism at that point. So when I first presented this, I was like, why would somebody say that you have to polish your white rice? That's just so dumb. I can't think of any reason why you would do that, and I was, but it turns out that there was a reason that they were doing. It was just a bad reason, but they did it for a reason. They weren't completely off base to do this, because I complained about, like, why would anyone polish the white rice? Why wouldn't you just eat brown rice, And then I got an email, because I put this online, and I had an email saying, I'm a Brit plant breeder, I have experience into this, and actually while talking about Beri Beri, you asked, and so I'm going to answer your question. And he said that it has a shorter shelf life, greater storage losses to pests, basically things want to eat it more. You polish it so that the other things don't want to eat it because they don't get nutritional value from it. In a sense, foods that last longer have less nutritional value by definition. And also it requires more cooking. It's easier, you probably know that it takes more time to cook brown rice than white. So it's just more convenient, more streamlined. It makes sense in a short-term way, but like with many of these things, in a long-term way, it starts to cause problems, right? So after 4 to 6 weeks, brown rice will go rancid, and there's fats in the brown part. And also, things want to eat it more because they get more vitamins from it. There's actually an abstract about this that he sent, and he was, I just think that this is such a good example of a, I said something wrong, I was corrected, but I was corrected very gently and with evidence. And this is how you correct someone. And I'm just glad to say that I put this online because it allows me to get feedback, me to find out where I'm wrong in a very nice way. So British politeness at its best right here. And but it does explain why they polish the white rice, but it also explains that that gives you biochemical problems. Man does not live on white rice alone for biochemical reasons. Beri is the word used in Sri Lanka for weak, and that's where the colonists first observed it. The people who were colonized called it Beri Beri, and that name stuck. Is very prevalent during the British colonial era. We've already talked about how you can have a thiamine deficiency if you drink only ethanol calories. There's also a story, I don't really believe this, but it teaches a good point. There's doctors who propose that early Beri Beri was recognized in American children in Ohio, and they basically gave them thiamine and they got better. They suggested that they weren't getting enough thiamine because they had eaten too much junk food. And it's possible that to process junk food, you also polish out the thiamine. I still have a hard time believing that you can go so far as to have a thiamine deficiency, but maybe you can because you can do it with ethanol as well. Just realize a diverse diet is actually a strong thing to have for your body. You physically require these vitamins to do things. And when something goes wrong, as a doctor, you need to understand what's going on.